Welcome to the Design for Living Big Book Study. Bill and I will be sharing our own experience of how the Big Book has helped us in the removal of our DOC, or actually our substance of no choice, as we've discussed throughout this Big Book study. But more importantly, how the directions contained within the Big Book have helped change all aspects of our lives. We will share our pain and successes as it relates to our own journey and the hundreds of men and women we have had the pleasure of helping through sponsorship or otherwise. Bill, myself, or the UDRcast are not affiliated with any 12-step program. We neither endorse nor discredit any method of recovery. We're supportive of all paths to recovery. We are just very passionate about what worked for us and what continues to work for us. The opinions shared in this study are solely that of the person sharing them. And with that, I will ask everyone to simmer down just a bit so that we have no distractions, because helping others is a very, very important chapter. And we can start reading, hey? It's chapter 7, page 89, in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm pretty sure it was, but thank you. Thank you, Gil. I love you, buddy. All right. Practical experience shows that nothing will so much ensure immunity from drinking as intensive work with other alcoholics. It works when other activities fail. This is our 12th suggestion. Carry this message to other alcoholics. You can help when no one else can. You can secure their confidence when others fail. Remember, they are very ill. Life will take on new meaning. To watch people recover, to see them help others, to watch loneliness vanish, to see a fellowship grow up about you, to have a host of friends. This is an experience you must not miss. We know you will not want to miss it. Frequent contact with newcomers and with each other is the bright spot of our lives. Perhaps you are not acquainted with any drinkers who want to recover. You can easily find some by asking a few doctors, ministers, priests, or hospitals. They will only be too glad to assist you. Don't start as an evangelist or reformer. Unfortunately, a lot of prejudice exists. You will be handicapped if you arouse it. Ministers and doctors are competent, and you can learn much from them if you wish. But it happens that because of your own drinking experience, you can be uniquely useful to other alcoholics. So cooperate, never criticize. To be helpful is our only aim. When you discover a prospect for Alcoholics Anonymous, find out all you can about him. If he does not want to stop drinking, don't waste time trying to persuade them. You may spoil a later opportunity. This advice is given for his family also. They should be patient, realizing they are dealing with a sick person. If there's any indication that they want to stop, have a good talk with the person most interested in them, usually their husband or wife. Get an idea of their behavior, problems, background, seriousness of this condition, and their religious leanings. You need this information to put yourself in their place, to see how you would like them to approach you if the tables were turned. Sometimes it is wise to wait till he goes on a binge. The family may object to this, but unless he is in a dangerous physical condition, it is better to risk it. Don't deal with him when he is very drunk unless he is ugly and the family needs your help. Wait for the end of the spree, or at least for a lucid interval. Then let his family or friend ask him if he wants to quit for good, and if he would go to any extreme to do so. If he says yes, then his attention should be drawn to you as a person who has recovered. You should be described to him as one of the fellowship who, as part of their own recovery, try to help others and who will be glad to talk to him if he cares to see you. If he does not want to see you, never force yourself upon him. Neither should the family hysterically plead with him to do anything, nor should they tell him much about you. They should wait for the end of this next drinking bout. You might place this book where you can see it in the interval. Here, no specific rule can be given. The family must decide these things, but urge them not to be over anxious, for that might spoil matters. Usually the family should not try to tell your story. When possible, avoid meeting a man through his family. Approach through a doctor or an institution is a better bet. If your man needs hospitalization, he should have it, but not forcibly unless he is violent. Let the doctor, if you will, tell him something he has in the way of a solution. When your man is better, the doctor might suggest a visit from you. Though you have talked with the family, leave them out of the first discussion. Under these conditions, your prospect will see he is under no pressure. He will feel he can deal with you without being nagged by his family. Call on him while he is still jittery. He may be more receptive when depressed. See your man alone, if possible. At first, engage in general conversation. After a while, turn the talk to some phase of drinking. Tell him enough about your drinking habits, symptoms, and experiences to encourage him to speak for himself, of himself. If he wishes to talk, let him do so. You will thus get a better idea of how you ought to proceed. If he is not communicative, give him a sketch of your drinking career up to the time you quit, but say nothing for the moment of how that was accomplished. If he is in a serious mood, dwell on the troubles liquor has caused you, being careful not to moralize or lecture. If his mood is light, tell him humorous stories of your escapades. Get him to tell some of his. When he sees you know all about the drinking game, commence to describe yourself as an alcoholic. Tell him how baffled you were, how you finally learned that you were sick. Give him an account of the struggles you made to stop. Show him the mental twist which leads to the first drink of a spree. We suggest you do this as we have done it in the chapter on alcoholism. If he is alcoholic, he will understand you at once. He will match your mental inconsistencies with some of his own. If you are satisfied that he's a real alcoholic, begin to dwell on the hopeless feature of the malady. Show him from your own experience how the queer mental condition surrounding that first drink prevents normal functioning of the willpower. Don't, at this stage, refer to this book unless he has seen it and wishes to discuss it. And be careful not to brand him as an alcoholic. Let him draw his own conclusion. If he sticks to the idea that he can still control his drinking, tell him that he possibly can, if he is not too alcoholic, but insist that if he's severely afflicted, there may be little chance he can recover by himself. Continue to speak of alcoholism as an illness, a fatal malady. Talk about the conditions of body and mind which accompany it. Keep his attention focused mainly on your personal experience. Explain that many are doomed who never realize their predicament. Doctors are rightly loath to tell alcoholic patients the whole story unless it will serve some good purpose. But you may talk to him about the hopelessness of alcoholism because you offer a solution. You will soon have your friend admitting he has many, if not all, of the traits of the alcoholic. If his own doctor is willing to tell him that he is alcoholic, so much the better. Even though your protege may not have entirely admitted his condition, he has become very curious to know how you got well. Let him ask you that question if he will. Tell him exactly what happened to you. Stress the spiritual feature freely. If the man be agnostic or atheist, make it emphatic that he does not have to agree with your conception of God. He can choose any conception he likes, provided it makes sense to him. The main thing is that he be willing to believe in a power greater than himself and that he live by spiritual principles. When dealing with such a person, you had better use everyday language to describe spiritual principles. So I'm going to stop there. You probably noticed that I tried to, be less misogynist while reading, but it just confuses me too much. So I know that this goes for all men and women. Like it happens to say he a lot in this book, so I'm sorry about that. But so we're going to read through some pages. We did that, and Bill's going to talk about things first, and I might add some stuff in. This is a big chapter, and we have to get it all in one session, so we had to actually sit together and try and figure out how we were going to do that, because we both love to talk about this stuff. So I'm going to let Bill talk to you the most, I think. So, yeah. Only because I love him so much.
Bill Alcoholic.
Hey, Bill.
I don't know why I said that. Anyway, so this chapter, working with others, this is the 7th chapter, right? It's the 12th step. It's probably the step that most people don't do. Most people don't work with others. And it's probably, like I always say it like this, the 12 steps give you a lot. Like, do the 12 steps. You're going to get a lot out of it. But the 12th step gives you everything. Like, everything you ever wanted in your life will come through the 12th step. Of course, you got to work the other steps as part of this, but there's so much God dope in the 12th step that, like, I can't even explain to you what's in this work that you do in the 12th step. And a lot of the reasons why people don't want to do this, well, I don't want to kill people. And you'll see it in here, it interrupts your pleasures. It interrupts your own life, right? But that's part of the character building, is as you get interrupted and as you work with somebody, you start opening parts of yourself and your heart that you had no idea that you even had. So by being disciplined and doing like this 12th step and like not scoffing at it and actually doing some sponsoring and some type of service, at least minimum. And I'm going to talk a lot about sponsorship tonight, because that's really what this chapter is about. It's about working with another alcoholic, one-on-one, right? And I know we got some people from Regina here, and I know a big thing in Regina is to do step groups, right? Step groups, yeah, whatever, right? That's not the same. It's not the same, not even close to the same. And I know many people that have worked in step groups that I've worked with one-on-one, and they didn't get the value out of the step group as they did on the one-on-one. And so the one-on-one is just like, it's got God dope all in there. And the thing about sponsorship is, as you start sponsoring, like, you'll get a little bit of the God dope when you first start sponsoring, for sure, and along the journey. But the real opening of yourself and the God dope, it kind of comes down the road more. Right? So there's a lot of good feelings as you do it in the beginning. But then a lot of people will do it in the beginning, and then they kind of, well, I work now and I have this going on and I have that, and I'm only going to sponsor one person, or I'm too busy to sponsor. And then they deprive themselves, but they don't really know it, right? You don't know what you don't know. But sponsoring's like, I'm just going to say it like this, I guess. Like, my whole business that I have today has come through me working with other alcoholics. And my whole intuition and the way I run my life has come through the 12 steps, but mostly working with other alcoholics. And like, as you heal through this journey of what the 12 steps are, you gain this intuitive direction, and Creator knows where I'm broken. So he's always going to put the people in my path that are able to help me heal on my journey. So whatever, and a good example of this is Jesse. You guys know my buddy Jesse. He's a sex addict, gambling, degenerate, alcoholic addict, right? And his first 5 sponsees were all sex addicts, right? I've only worked with 5 sex addicts maybe in the whole 10 years that I've been doing this. He's probably worked with 100 of them or more. Because Creator knows what he needs, and he knows what I need, so I get what I need that Creator brings to me as I work with the people. There's been many people where I judged in my early sponsorship days and be like, fuck, that guy's a dick. And then at the end of the meeting, that guy's, fuck, you sponsor me? And I'm just like, really, Creator? So nothing happens by mistake, and you'll see that as you sponsor, and exactly what you need you'll get through the sponsees that come to you for whatever the reason is. And anyway, the other thing I'll say about this is stop worrying about it. Alcohol's going to kill them anyway. What do you got to lose? You got the experience, you got the depth, and you got the weight. Why not just read through the literature? Let God decide what you're going to talk about. That's how you start, man. That's how it starts. Well, I don't have the experience. Well, how do you fucking get experience without experience? Right? You didn't learn how to ride a bike the first time you jumped on it. Right? You didn't learn how to fucking smoke crack and do all the things that goes along with that the first time. You figured it all out, all the rituals, right? Hector, don't look at me like that. But you got to practice this stuff, man. And so practice comes by just doing it. And so take someone through the material, start at doctor's opinion, and the stuff will come. And maybe you do it once and you're like, well, it worked okay. The second time you do it, you're 100% better than you were the first time. And so on and so on and so on. And then it just kind of keeps growing from there. And the other thing about this chapter in particular, and I don't know how many times I've said, go read the chapter. Don't call me and ask me for the advice. All the advice you're looking for is right here in chapter 7, working with others. Because this is a clear, direct, concise version of what you do and what you don't do. You want to know how to work with an alcoholic and how to deal with an alcoholic? Go to this chapter, read it, and it shows you clearly what to do and what not to do. And that's at least a good start. And as you keep going, you can grow in understanding and effectiveness in how you do things yourself, right? And now I just like, this is all ingrained in me. And then I've taken my experience and I just do this like pretty organically and pretty effectively today. And so I guess the other thing about, this big book and the program is 50% got sober at once, 25% more with some relapses. So we're at 75% are sober. And then the other 25% lived a better quality of life, right? And really how you do that is you take them through this book and show them the directions. And when I talk about sponsorship, it's about showing them in the book what to do, how to do it, and how you did it. Like a lot of people will sponsor, I'll be your sponsor, and they never open the book. And they just talk to you. And I've had sponsees saying, oh, I'm sponsoring this girl or I'm sponsoring this guy. And I'm like, oh, so you've met like 4 times in the last 2 weeks? Yeah. And this is kind of what we did. Did you open the book? Well, no, I just talked. I'm like, don't fucking just talk to them. Open the book, man. Like, this isn't about like fucking your therapy session with these people and just fucking talking to them. That's not the deal. Fucking open the book.
They don't need a friend.
Anyway, so this first paragraph here, ensure immunity from drinking, intensive work with other alcoholics. It doesn't say you want immunity from drinking and drugging, then this is the best way to do it. And it doesn't say that it's like light work. It says intensive work. Like you got to do this at a level that's like, pretty high. It works when all other activities fail. Why do you think Bill W. wrote that? Because most people aren't going to do this part. What are they going to do when they're struggling? They're fucking going to prayer. Oh, God, please help me. Fuck, I feel like shit. Or please fucking give me this. Or I need that. Or whatever, right? Or meditation. Or maybe inventory. But this is what works when none of that stuff works. And sometimes none of that stuff is going to work. So you got to go here and get out of your own fucking self. So like the last week, I've been super busy. Me and Gord went through this chapter today. And I was telling Tiffany and a couple other people, like, fuck, I need to get grounded here. I've been on the go for like a week, like just giving her. And then I came out of Gord's truck, reading this chapter. And then I went and took a piss. And I realized I fucking got grounded in there. Because I was in here and I started thinking about other people and I started thinking about what we're delivering tonight and it really helped me today. So that was nice. So it works when everything else fails. You can carry this message to other alcoholics. You can help when no one else can. You can secure their confidence when others fail. Remember that they are very ill. So you're going to work with others and they're going to piss you off. Constantly will piss you off because they're not answering the phone, they're not getting back to you, they're standing you up on the meetings, they're fucking complaining or whatever. They're going to piss you off. But those are all your lessons. And what we always got to remember is they are very ill, man. They're very sick people. So you got to remember that. And in the original manuscript, in the resentment, it says they're sick. Imagine them as sick people with cancer. You wouldn't treat a sick person with cancer that way, would you? No, man. You'd fucking give them some compassion. You give them some leeway, and you be there for them no matter what. But in this business, like what we're doing, you're not going to be there for them no matter what. You'll see in the subsequent pages that sometimes you just got to let them go, right? And so there's a balance to this stuff. Anyway, life will take on a new meaning. Yeah, man. You know, in the step 9 promises, you will see where God can do for you what you can't do for yourself. And all of the step 9 promises, you intuitively know how to handle situations. You will see how your experience can benefit others. You will know peace and you will comprehend serenity. All of those step 9 promises, that will give you a new meaning. You'll learn all that through sponsorship. You'll get more out of sponsorship than any fucking inventories that you're doing continually. The thing about inventories and prayer and meditation is people will inventory and prayer and meditation themselves right into insanity. And people will always do another set of steps. Oh, I need another set of steps. I need another set of steps. I need another set of steps. Why? Because they're still stuck in self and they think the solution lies in the steps. No, it fucking doesn't. You will do the steps over and over again because you want relief so bad. Your intentions are good, but the motivation is so selfish still that you won't really feel the relief and feel better from doing more inventory. So the inventory isn't really going to fucking help you that much. This is what helps you. Homie G?
So, okay, well, I'm going to sound a little selfish right now.
Give her.
But in reality, I'm looking at it because I've been getting a lot of aha moments because I'm doing another set of steps with a new sponsor.
Yeah.
And being in the program for a while and actually understanding that giving basically with sponsorship is the key to, someone said it to me, it's like what you're going to get more and more freedom when you are sponsoring new people because you're helping somebody else and getting out of self. But then what do you do when you're in a state that selfishness within yourself is like, you have that awareness. It's like, okay, I gotta like help people out. Should I stop my steps and just because I've done a set of steps before, or what? Like, this is where I'm stuck because I'm just like, okay, I'm about to do a 5 this week. Should I just? But you just said it right there about like wanting that own sense of relief. You know what I mean?
Right. But you did a set of steps quite a while ago, right?
No, I'm doing, yeah.
Right? So your old set of steps, then you came in and you've been pretty restless, irritable, discontent for a while.
Uh-huh.
You had some awakenings, you had some shifts, and you're like, I need to do another set of steps, which is what you're doing.
Uh-huh.
That's necessary because you had a shift.
Okay.
And you were like, fuck, I need to go deeper and I'm seeing things differently. So you're into the new set of steps. And that's like, you're not seeking relief. You're seeking to like do a real set of steps properly.
Uh-huh.
And then as you finish your steps, you're going to take it serious and go, I need to help fucking alcoholics. I'm going to go do the 12th step. That's really where you're at, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So there's no discussion.
So just be patient.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude.
Okay.
Like, but there are people that are like, oh, I just did a set 6 months ago. I did a set 4 months ago. I'm going to do another one, like, or every like 8 months or whatever. That's not going to help you. I always ask them because I get a lot of people asking me like, let's do a set of steps. And I'm like, when's your last set? Well, I just did a set with my last sponsor. And I'm like, okay. And before that, I just did a set like last year. And I'm like, how many people have you sponsored? Well, none. Well, what the fuck are we talking about? Go sponsor somebody. And like Jesse won't even entertain you at all. Like his thing, Lee's a sponsee of Jesse's, and his thing with his sponsees, Jesse's, is he takes everyone through the book from a sponsor's point of view because he wants them to understand the material because he knows that that's where the real growth is, man.
Right here.
Right? It's not through yoga or fucking meditation at the fucking Buddha temple, which I'm not saying these things are bad. But go work with somebody, and in combination with this is the deal, man. Like, I can't emphasize how much this shit will change your fucking life. Lee fucking knows. Go ahead, Lee.
Jesse, hey, I need another set of steps. He says, are you sponsoring? If you say no, he says, then you haven't completed a set of steps.
Right.
Exactly. Say the same thing. I've got a buddy that he's become a buddy. He's a sponsee at first. Now he's a buddy I ride motorcycles with. I'm tight with this guy. But he goes and gets a new sponsor and does a new set of steps every friggin' year. You know what else happens every friggin' year? He burns through a relationship and he has arguments with friends and he quits his job and then he does another set of steps and gets another sponsor. There's no change. What Bill's talking about is the growth is actually in working with other alcoholics. And it's critical.
And then part of that is like you're constantly doing step 10 because step 10s are your fucking gold nuggets. So you're doing inventory regardless if you're working the program, not your program. You're doing step 10s. You're doing step 11s. And this service part should eventually just come naturally because you're clearing the channel and you're designed to serve, but you're conditioned to serve yourself. So the 10 and 11 actually open that all up. Right? So you don't need to rely just on this to kind of get to the service portion where you want to do this. You work a good solid 10 and 11 constantly. This will just happen naturally. But we'll see. Anyway, bottom of the page. But it happens because of your own drinking experience that you can be uniquely useful to alcoholics. So you take your greatest deficit of your life, you're an addict and alcoholic degenerate, and you use it to your greatest asset. You just flip the script on what you were and now how you're using it, right? Jesse's a gambling degenerate. And now what is he? He teaches people with the same affliction how to not be like that, how to pack into the stream of life through his own experience. Why? Because he's uniquely useful because Creator brings him the guys that need that. And then same for me, same for Gord, same for Amberly, same for the people who are sponsoring. You will see if you're awake that the people that are coming to you are the ones that will help you heal.
We will see how our experience can benefit others. How do you think we get that promise? It's right here, working with others.
Next page. Top of the page, when you discover a prospect, you find a sponsee. Find out all you can about him. That's like you start asking questions to the person. Ask questions. Find out everything you can about him. And you won't have any issue learning about him because an alcoholic is going to tell you everything because he's so selfish and self-centered. So he's going to tell you everything that you need to know if you're just asking him the questions, pretty much. They'll always tell you. And that's the thing as a sponsor, as you keep sponsoring, one of the key things is always asking questions. Because they'll always tell you, they're always going to try to hide something, maybe intentionally and maybe not intentionally. But as you start getting good at asking the questions, you'll always get the answer. And then your intuition starts sharpening too. If he does not want to stop drinking, don't waste your time trying to persuade him. Boom. Fucking there's clear-cut direction. If the person doesn't really want to stop drinking, don't waste your time. You can plant seeds, but don't waste your time trying to persuade them, especially in your family. That's really hard not to do, though, in your family. And why? Because you may spoil a later opportunity. And so for me, like, as I've been in the program for these years and I've disturbed people on the question of alcoholism and they don't really like me, eventually they'll ask me for help so I didn't spoil a later opportunity by like defending myself or trying to chase them down or whatever. And then I was able to like use all that experience or not engaging with them as a tool to eventually do a good job with them and they would come to you later if you stay consistent. And the other thing I want to say, and we'll say it later because we noted it, Sharpen your message, man. How do you sharpen your message? By sponsoring. So you'll sharpen your message in the room, and don't be afraid to share. As you do the steps, you'll understand how to share on the step, but you'll understand how to share on the step way more through sponsoring. So you're attracting the people to you through the depth of your message and the weight of your message. And then you get better at articulating it, and then you're weeding people out right off the bat. Like I weed people out right off the bat. They don't want nothing to do with me. But the one who's been banging his head against the wall, drinking for fucking 6 years, he's finally coming to me because he knows that I'm probably pretty serious. So I get somebody super willing. So it's easier for me as a sponsor to have somebody willing. So if your message is sharpened, you're going to attract more willing people, and you'll be able to help articulate the message better and help yourself like get rid of more shit in the same breath. Again, a couple lines down, dealing with a sick person. We can't forget that because sometimes we forget. I'm going to skip down a little bit. Halfway down the page, sometimes it is wise to wait till he goes on a binge. So you're watching alcoholics, you're watching your sponsees, you're watching people in the rooms who maybe you're their pillar or whatever. And you're watching them and you wait because they're going on the spree. If they're just trying to stay sober on meetings or whatever, or they're fucking around in the program, they're drinking, man. That's a guarantee. So you're watching and you're waiting, right? And maybe you're even planting seeds and waiting for the opportunity. But the moment they go on the spree, you're watching because you know he's going to emerge remorseful. And once they emerge remorseful, boom, you go in for the kill, which means, hey, how's it going today? Fucking hating life. Perfect. Right? And it is. John?
What's your opinion on having a year clean before sponsoring?
Having a year in before sponsoring? Bullshit.
That's bullshit. Yeah, where do you hear that?
Everywhere?
Everywhere.
Yeah, no, bro.
Everywhere.
No.
That's the Narcotics Anonymous.
Yeah, no. That's garbage.
We are asked to sponsor people the minute that we complete 11 steps.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah, and it says it actually in the literature, but no, don't carry that message, please.
You might not do it well at first. That's the reality. But that's the whole reason that we do it. That's what Bill was just talking about honing our message, about understanding the literature better. How do we do that? By working with others.
Well, everyone's got their opinions in the rooms, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, you shouldn't do this if you're not done this, or, you know.
Meeting makers make it. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, anyone can do whatever they want. This is just our experience. It's not like, set in stone, but
Yeah.
fuck, man, got a lot of experience doing this, and I know the literature pretty good, and Gord does too, and Jesse does too, and I think I'm just going to refer to Jesse again. This is one of his favorite chapters, right?
He misses Jesse.
Step 9 and step 12. But Jesse and I used to sponsor separately, like we were friends, but we would go on our own ways and do our own thing. But we'd come together and we would share, like, what's your experience with this step? Or like, and it wasn't like, oh, what's your experience with this step? We would just talk about shit. And then we would see, holy shit, you're doing it like that, I'm doing it like this, we're doing it by the book or whatever. But over the years and the years and years that we kind of have been friends, we've collected a lot of data and we've seen a lot of shit. And there's not a lot of people that have sponsored as many people as him and I and collected like consciously the data to be able to like really see what's working. And so that's what we do, is we deliver the data that we see works. And like I said, way back in, I don't know what step, like, fuck, I'm wrong rarely when it comes to this shit, right? And that sounds arrogant, but it's a fact too, right? I'm rarely wrong when it comes to this type of stuff we're doing.
There's a track record, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of you in this room are that track record.
And Jesse's fucking never wrong. Like, I fucking I'm glad he's not sitting here listening to me.
I love that guy.
The guy's never wrong, man.
No.
I'll give guys or people enough room to like move. He's pretty strict and he calls it, and fucking I end up calling, going, yeah, dude, that fucking happened. And I was hoping that it wouldn't. He's like, fuck, I knew it would, man. Fuck, blah, blah, blah. Is that funny?
It is, because Jesse started somewhere too, right? Jesse finished 11 steps and started sponsoring people. Not well. And because he sponsored so many people and was so involved in recovery, he just got so good at it.
Yeah. And we're giving you like so much information that you don't got to go around and fuck around like we did.
Yeah.
Like you're getting like compressed data here, do it like this, and like it'll prove itself to be true, where you don't really have to like fuck around and like make those mistakes. Just quickly down bottom. If he does not want to see you, never force yourself upon him. You can always tell through text message, whatever. If they don't want to see you, man, fucking leave them. You can always keep reaching out because sometimes they're just resentful or they hate the program or maybe you annoyed them. But eventually they'll usually come around. So don't like just give up on them typically. Always reach out and say, you know, and use your intuition. Next page, usually the family should not try to tell your story. When possible, avoid meeting a man through his family. So all I really want to talk about there is referrals as a sponsor. So a referral is somebody else gives somebody my number. I don't want to work with somebody who gives somebody my number. I want to work with the guy who fucking saw me at the meeting 10 times in a row and comes to me and says, I fucking want you to sponsor me. Because the person who doesn't know me, it doesn't usually work out typically. Although it can and has, but typically me as a sponsor, I don't want to work with a referral. I want to work with the guy who's seen me, my message is sharpened, and he wants what I have, and he's willing to fucking sit down with me and do the vetting process, and I lay out my chips. This is how we're going to do it. If you like it, great, and if you don't, that's cool. And then they'll say yes or they'll say no. Right? Whatever your system is, you're always going to sit with somebody before you start sponsoring, lay down your rules. This is how I'm going to roll. Do you accept it? Yes. Then boom, then you get to work, right? But it does work sometimes, and Gord has a story right here where it's worked.
Yeah, I could pull out my phone, you guys, and show you hundreds of referrals in my messenger, in my text messages, you know, hundreds, literally hundreds of people that have texted me over the last couple years even and said, hey man, you know, I've got a buddy that is really struggling and I just wanted a strong 12-step guy to sponsor him. Can I pass along your number? And you know what? I'm a true believer in God is everything. So I always say, yeah, sure. Mm-hmm. But I bet you out of those 100 people that tried to refer me to someone, a handful of people actually called me or texted me. I've got one beautiful guy in the room here today that his family, who are members of a fellowship for like 35 years sober in recovery, they didn't think that they were too close to him. So they asked if they could turn him on to me, and I said yes, like I always do. And this guy ran with it, man. You know, and I realized when I first met him that he just needed someone to care about him, you know, and to show him what he was missing in a very simple way. And that's what we did. And now this guy's taking guys through the steps and sponsoring people and feeling the God dope. And he's doing wonderful. But that's few and far between. It's more of the guys that hear me talk in a meeting or at a detox, and they see me at a meeting later, you know, and they they need help so badly and they relate to my story, they come up themselves and ask me. I think that's what Bill's talking about. That's where the good stuff is, right? Like that's where there's more opportunity for growth, I think.
And then on the flip side, if you're new to sponsoring, you pretty much don't really say no to anyone, right? Like, you're going to learn to cut your teeth as a sponsor by taking the referrals and taking pretty much anyone on at the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, you haven't earned the right, I would say, to like say no to anybody, really. You got to learn the process. You got to learn the vetting. You got to learn these things. So just take kind of whoever comes your way if you're new and start building your system. And for me, it took me 15 or 20 guys just to like even develop a system. Then it took me another 20 or 30 guys to like build my system. And then once I had those like 40 or 50 guys to start my system, build my system, I had a system. And then I could tweak the system. And then by like 70 people in, I had a good way of doing things. And then from there, I just built the data, collected the data, and built a really strong foundation of how I sponsor. And today it's pretty solid, right? Although I do switch it up a little bit depending on who it is, what's going on. But so I want to highlight to you, it takes 15, 20 people just to build a system. You get to see where they're fucking you around and how your feelings and emotions get involved and blah, 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 using your pillars to kind of navigate this. You learn how to vet. You learn like, holy shit, I should have asked him these questions before I said yes. Jesus Christ, he's in a fucking 3-woman relationship and holy fuck, man, or whatever, right? Like, you got
And then
like,
many more, you learn how to ask the same question 3 different ways because you know he's bullshitting you. Right? And get the answer out, right? These are things that we go through. It took me longer than you. I was probably over 100 guys before anything was happening. And I called my sponsor and said, I'm failing, man. Like, nobody's staying sober. Like, it's actually hurting me in my soul because I'm trying to help people and nobody's staying sober. And he said, are you sober? And I said, yeah. He's like, then you're not failing. Mm-hmm. Now, I've learned even more about that. Who the hell am I to call, to say what success and failure is? God is everything or he is nothing. So if God is everything, which I believe it to be, then who's to say that guy that only showed up for one meeting, read the doctor's opinion with me, and then I never saw him again? Who's to say that one day he's sitting at his living room table with a gun on the table and he's about to put it in his mouth. And he might not even remember it was me, but he remembered that guy that spent a little time with him that one time. Maybe that's enough for him to not do that and call for help. Is that a failure? I think not. That's a success. I don't have the right to judge what success and what failure is. My job is to show up. That's it. 100, 200, 300, doesn't matter. Keep showing up.
Yeah, and like also for me, I didn't even probably get one guy through the 12 steps till I was 30, 40, 50 guys in. Like I didn't even have one guy 12 step till I was, who knows, 50 guys in. Finally, I got one guy. Woo. It was like, holy shit. And I know guys that, they're new to sponsoring and they got like their first 6 out of 10 through. Yeah. I'm like, fuck, that's deadly. Like, that wasn't my story, right? Mm-hmm. Later, as I got better, I got more guys through and, like, changed some things up with, like, conversations with Jesse. And, like, now I pretty much get everybody through. But if someone asks me, they're pretty serious. So they're probably, and they know I'm going to tell them, like, my time's really fucked. So if you're willing to, like, bear with me, and they usually stick with me, not always, but... So I got a good like success right now because they want to work with me, so they're willing to put up with my shit, and they got usually a pretty decent recovery, and so it's good now, but it wasn't always like that. So you got to really cut your teeth, and you might not get many people through. But me and Gord are talking like 50 and 100 and shit. Fuck, there's guys in the program for 20 fucking years that haven't even sponsored like 10 people. right? Like this commitment that we're talking about, it's a commitment to like our own lives and recovery, right?
It's what I promised my sponsor I would do at the very beginning. And that's what I tell all of my guys that I take through the steps at that very beginning. When I say, I'm never going to ask you for anything. I don't want you to buy my coffees. I don't want gas money. I don't want anything from you except one thing. And they say, what's that? And I say, when we're done, you got to do this with someone else. That's the only thing I'll ever ask of you. And I live by that. They've offered to buy my coffees. They've offered to bring me a sandwich on their way over. And, and some of these guys, they can afford it. It's not a big deal. I always say no, because that's the one thing I stand by. I'm only ever going to ask you for one thing, but I expect that you do it.
And there's no guarantee they will.
For your own benefit, not mine. Donnie. Lee, hang on a second, Donnie.
Yeah, I was just wondering, say somebody finishes a set of steps and then has a relapse. Does that mean that you got to work another full set of steps before you can sponsor after that?
That's a good question.
I would say yes. I would say yes most of the time. But if I'm their sponsor and I'm taking them through, I might say, you know what, I want you to start sponsoring like where we are, like start taking someone through at step 1 as we're moving through 6 or 9 or 12 or whatever. So I guess that's kind of like the sponsor's call. And I have done that, but most of the time I would not, depending on who it is and what I believe they have and what I believe they need also, right? Sometimes I think people need to be like busy doing things, and that might be this guy. Some people might need to serve more than somebody else, right? So it all depends on like who it is and what your intuition tells you would be my answer. But as a rule, no.
And often if someone asks to do another set of steps before they relapse, I even say no. I think that there's holes in their design, and if I'm a good sponsor and I'm in touch with these people, I know what that is. I had a guy, he's even got more sobriety than I do that I sponsor, and which isn't uncommon, but I knew he needed to work on step 10. He needed more step 10 stuff, and I'm like, no. This is just for relief, like we just talked about. No, I'm not taking you through another set of steps, but hey, let's meet every week and go through the book, The Ripple Effect, together. And we'll start working on step 10 better. And it's done some wonders, but we have to be in touch. We have to be open to the people that we're dealing with. We have to be able to pivot a bit. Everyone's different.
Okay. 91, halfway down, right in the middle, a couple lines up. Call on him while he is still jittery. He may be more receptive when he's depressed. We touched on that already. You watch for the spree, you watch for attend, you go in for the move when that is happening. No sense in going in for the move when the spree's on. There's no point. You can keep touching base, but you kind of you watch, and then he's done. And he's going to be depressed. He's going to be emerging remorseful. That's when you go in. And then you start doing certain things if you get to meet him, like, what's happened? Well, I lost my job, and this happened, and you use all of that as ammunition. Don't co-sign his shit. Use his ammunition and take him to the meeting, whatever you need to do. And always ask God, Creator, for what you need to say and do. You'll always get the right words if you ask Creator in these moments, because there's going to be spots where you don't even know what to say or do. That's exactly why we need God, because he can do for us what we can't do. And if you're in tune with that and you remember, you'll sit and you'll pray, fuck, man, this is really awkward and weird. Fuck, ask Creator.
Yeah, totally.
And like the other thing about alcoholics, like chronic relapsers, and they can be like this for years. I was just dealing with one today. She's tried recovery many, many times. She always has the plan, man. She always has the fucking plan. This is what I'm going to do. Sorry that I keep swearing, young man, but you brought yourself here. Anyway, when the alcoholic has the plan, they're drunk, man. It's only a matter of time. Oh, I'm going to do this. This is how it's going to go. I'm going to go to detox. I'm going to go to treatment. This is the treatment center I want. Then I'm going to spend the first phase. I'm not going to do phase 2. Then I'm going to come out. I'm going to get my kid. No, you're not. You may as well forget everything you said past fucking detox because you ain't even going to make it there. Like alcoholics that have the plan, they drink and use again, man. You got to be beaten into a state of reasonableness where you're like, I just give up, man. Tell me what to do, right? Can anyone attest to like that? They had the plan, always had the plan, and finally they were like, just tell me what the fuck to do.
Yeah.
John? Yeah? Yeah.
Definitely.
That's how it has to go, man. But the ego's still fucking alive, right? It still wants to run the show. But until the spirit and the ego are both beaten, where it's just like, fuck, I just give up, man. Then it's like for me, I said to my dad, fuck, I hated AA or whatever fellowship. I hated it before I ever came because my dad was in it for 20-some, 30 years before I ever came here. Mm-hmm. And I just thought it was bullshit. I could quit on my own. But then finally I was like, fuck, Dad, take me to one of those fucking meetings. And then it worked, right? But I didn't have a place to live. I didn't have any money. I didn't have really nothing. But if I had another $20 and, you know, maybe a half a tank of gas and a few little things, I'd be okay. I'd be good. But I didn't.
Sounds familiar.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
How are we doing?
We're at 8:08.
Lee, are we on time? Okay, because we're compressing this, we're going to jump pretty quick. Top of 92, we're going to take a break soon, so be patient. Tell them how baffled you were, how you finally learned that you were sick. Give him an account of the struggles that made you stop. Show him the mental twist that leads to the first drink of the spree. We suggest that you do this as we have done on the chapter of alcoholism. If he is an alcoholic, he will understand you at once. He will match your mental inconsistencies with some of his own. So tell him how you were sick, how you learned you were sick. Give him an account of your struggles. Tell him your story. So exact example today. I went to a guy's house and he's been trying for years. This is at work, so I do this at work too. And I just explained like the obsession and the allergy and how it worked in my life and how I tried to stop, how I could get a week and sometimes I could get a month. Every now and then I could get 6 months. And then I picked up again knowing that it always is the same way. But why did I pick up? And I just explained it all. And like I could see in like 10 minutes, this guy was like, holy fuck, that's my life. And I said, this is repeated over and over, bro. And I'm just quoting it right out of the book, man. Doctor's opinion, over and over. I said, unless you change how you think, so I used everyday language, you're probably going to keep going for that relief that you get, but it doesn't work anymore. And he's like, dude, I totally get it. So I'm just doing this, right? Showing him the mental twist that leads to the first drink, as they do in the chapter more on alcoholism. That chapter is about what type of thinking precedes the first drink. That's the whole chapter's premise. Suddenly in Jim's story, I thought it would be a great idea to have some whiskey in my milk. When's fucking suddenly? Suddenly's coming, man. And so like getting really familiar with the chapters and seeing what these chapters are actually offering is super important to like be able to carry like the sharp message too, right? Because doctor's opinion is about the allergy. That's the fucking premise of the chapter, with a little tiny bit about the spiritual malady. But its main thing is the allergy. And then there's a solution is the hopeless nature of the disease. And chapter more about alcoholism is what type of thinking precedes you picking up the drink. And as you read these chapters over and over, you start seeing what these chapters are about. And then you become way more effective in the message, right? Blah, blah, blah.
And what's the whole point of that? So we can relate. So they can relate. They read a story about Jim and the alcohol in the milk, or they read a story about Fred who crossed the threshold after a good deal, and I just thought to myself, the threshold of the restaurant, oh, it'd be nice to have a cocktail with dinner. You know, it can be either an ugly thing where he's angry about not owning the car dealership he owned and working for that guy, or he can be really happy that he's closed some deals and it just dawns on them both. That'd be a good idea to have a drink. That's what precedes the first drink. It's an insane thought. And it's followed by all sorts of excuses as to why, plausible excuses, it says in our book, as to why that's a good idea.
And another thing both those stories say is all went well for a while.
Yeah.
But they failed to enlarge their spiritual life. And they were drunk a half a dozen times in rapid succession.
Even more importantly, actually.
Yeah. So like as you read these chapters, you pull out the data that you need. Yeah, Jim and Fred had a insane idea that it would be a great idea to have a drink, but all went well for a while because they were sober, and things always go better when you're sober for a little while. But what happened? They didn't enlarge their spiritual life.
Right on.
So boom, they were drunk. Because if you don't enlarge your spiritual life, because that's why we actually need God, said it a million times, it's not because God's warm and fucking fuzzy that you need him in the program, but that's the philosophy of what the rooms talk about. Oh, God's so nice and warm and makes me feel so good. That's like the premise of what it is in the rooms, man. So what's that? God's theory, man. God isn't working in and through you. God works in and through you through the directions. Here's a lot of the directions. So like these things are all important, right? And like getting your message sharpened, picking up people that want to like work with you, and all of this stuff it all works together. The step 10, the step 11, learning these chapters, and then sharing on them in the meeting, right? All this stuff is really, really important. For your own personal growth, like personally. I'm going to skip down to 3/4 the way down the page on 92. Continue to speak alcoholism as an illness, as a fatal malady. Talk about the condition of the body, which is the allergy, and the mind, which is the insane thought. Perhaps he doesn't think at all. The problem centers in the mind. Right? You're explaining this shit in general language, or, you know, maybe with chronic relapsers out of the book.
And about yourself, sorry to interject,
Yeah.
but if I continued on, I guarantee you I would have been dead. Right? Very, very important, because I know that to be true. He may not have seen that yet.
Keep his attention focused on mainly your own personal experience. That's what's going to give him the depth, right, of your experience with the weight. That's what's going to drag him in and go, fuck, he's like me. But then this part, explain many are doomed who never realize their predicament. That's really why we're doing this study, really, in one line. Many are doomed who do not understand their true predicament. There's two predicaments of an alcoholic. One is the mental blank spot that they have where they don't enlarge their spiritual life and they fucking just pick up. No alcoholic or addict chooses to pick up. The choice is made because they're unfit spiritually, because they're selfish and self-centered and don't know it, right? So that's the first predicament, is why we drink. But the real predicament is the spiritual malady and the defective character. It's all about behavior, how we act and how we think. And if we don't understand that part, we're not likely to ever get the other predicament under control, right? So there's two predicaments. The alcoholic does not understand his first predicament and never really understands the second predicament. This whole study, we've talked about defective character and behavior, which is the real predicament. And so, and like as a sponsor, I am a guy who works with people. A lot of the people I work with, like today or in the last number of years, they live solid sobriety and like living really good lives because they understand that part. And even some of these people like Dion saw my shit on fucking YouTube, right? And then he told his old lady, like, you got to listen to this like message just quickly. And then they realized they were fucked. But then they did something about it, and they really dug in and did the things, right? And they're like, from what I could tell, they're living pretty spectacular lives today, right? But I could probably talk to them like here, which I won't, and say, what was it like for the years before that? Fucking banging your head on the wall. Yeah. Like, there's a lot of people in Regina that love me, man, because I fucking help them with the message that I just learned here. And then now they're spreading it there, right? And the guys up in Prince Rupert, and like, it works, man. When you understand this disease, you can help people change their fucking lives, and then it just ripples, right? And that's what we're here to do. Like I was just telling the boys in Trinity, we were at a meeting, and the message was whatever. We sat down, because I was up there last week, and we sat down after the meeting, and I'm like, that's your job. Your job is to open the fucking book, find a reading, read what it fucking says, share your experience on whatever the reading is in the step that's on the board. Don't just do what everyone else is doing and share your fucking opinions. Your job is to share the fucking message that's in the book, and you'll get better at it if you do it. But don't be afraid to do it. Thing about it is, you speak like me, just like what happened to me in Regina, you get shut the fuck down. Yep. That's why I've told you it's a fucking lonely journey sharing the real message, because it's the opposite in the rooms. You're going to fucking people are going to be, settle down.
Seriously, another example of that, my
Settle
friend
down.
Danielle moved to Kelowna a few years ago. Good friend, solid recovery, good people. And she started going to a certain fellowship that she went to here. And basically, people started coming up to her and saying, yeah, we don't want you to talk about that here. Can you believe that shit? We don't want you to talk about the design for living in the big book at this meeting. That's not what we're about here. So guess what? She switched fellowships for a while. I hope that that's changed. But it happens. It happens often. It doesn't just happen to Bill. It doesn't just happen to Danielle. It happens to a lot of us that go out and talk. You're called big book thumpers, and you're called this, and you're called that. Yeah, call me whatever you want. I don't really care. Like, I know what saved my life, and if I'm going to help others, I know God wants me to share that message, and that message only. I don't go to meetings to talk about my day, you know? Anyway.
Okay, I'm going to answer this one question on Zoom, and then we'll take a quick break. Lee is asking, do you have to be at a certain step to work with another alcoholic? You have to at least be 12-stepped once before you work with another alcoholic. You can help them, take them to meetings, and do a lot of the other things, but like the sponsorship portion, get through your steps, and then you work with another alcoholic. But have a sponsor. Like, be sponsored and sponsoring. Especially if you're new to sponsoring, you have a sponsor so you can go to him when you need some questions answered, right? And then Dana said, I needed this message. I was so fucked until I met the people that put me on to, well, he said Bill and the book, but it's not really, like, it's not fully me. It's the book. When it's described properly.
The real message.
And he'd been around a long time, fucking banging his head against the wall, right? And then he found these guys and some other people in Regina and me, and fucking he's like, now his life's like so different today. because of the book, man, and the message contained in the book. And there's a pretty good group in Regina that are doing this, and it's really cool.
Very cool.
Okay, let's have a quick break.
We'll get back to the podcast in a second. The opinions expressed on this podcast are solely of the guest sharing or myself. We have no affiliation with any 12-step or recovery program. And if you do like our work, please consider visiting BILLWARD.life and supporting what we do. Now back to the podcast.
All right, hello everyone. We are back. Thank you for being so patient. Bill, you're going to carry on page 92 or 93?
I think I'm going to bounce to 93.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, I'm going to get going. We got 10 pages to do in an hour or less, half an hour.
So you will talk about the top paragraph on 93 because that's where we read up to spiritual
Okay.
principles.
Is Molly drawing the names?
Yep, at the end. And then you guys let me know who won. And then we need their contact info so we can mail them their presents.
Awesome.
And I don't know how many yet, but we'll figure that out. Okay.
Stress the spiritual future freely.
So yeah, a couple lines down. Tell them exactly what happened to you. Again, your story. Stress the spiritual feature freely. So with somebody brand new, I wouldn't honestly stress the spiritual feature freely. Just use plain old language. Tell them how the program worked to help you. Chronic relapsers, yes, of course. The spiritual feature expressed freely. But maybe not so much with somebody new. Because we all know we didn't really want to talk about God or Creator when we first got here. But you can use everyday language and explain how you changed and all the things that, you know, you've learned along your journey. But with the chronic relapser, yes, right? And I guess with the chronic relapser also, it's about the behaviors to get that spiritual connection, releasing those behaviors. And I got to apologize. We're not going to do the full chapter justice because we are in a bit of a rush. So you won't get the full chapter like perfectly, but you're going to get some really good points tonight. If you want like full chapter, I have other content of step 12 on the UDRcast where we've spent like the whole time going through this line by line. Anyway, kind of keep going. I think that's it, Gord.
Okay. When dealing with such a person, you had better use everyday language to describe spiritual principles. There is no use arousing any prejudice, which Bill just talked about. He may have against certain theological terms and conceptions about which he may already be confused. Don't raise such issues, no matter what your own convictions are. Your prospect may belong to a religious denomination. His religious education and training may be far superior to yours. In that case, he's going to wonder how you can add anything to what he already knows. But he will be curious to learn why his own convictions have not worked and why yours seem to work so well. He may be an example of the truth that faith alone is insufficient. To be vital, faith must be accompanied by self-sacrifice and unselfish, constructive action. Let him see that you are not there to instruct him in religion. Admit that he probably knows more about it than you do. But call to his attention the fact that however deep his faith and knowledge, he could not have applied it or he would not drink. Perhaps your story will help him see where he has failed to practice these very precepts he knows so well. We represent no particular faith or denomination. We are dealing only with general principles common to most denominations. Outline the program of action, explaining how you made a self-appraisal, how you straightened out your past, and why you are now endeavoring to be helpful to him. It is important for him to realize that your attempt to pass this on to him plays a vital part in your own recovery. Actually, he may be helping you more than you are helping him. Make it plain he is under no obligation to you, that you hope only that he will try to help other alcoholics when he escapes his own difficulties. Suggest how important it is that he place the welfare of other people ahead of his own. Make it clear that he is not under pressure, that he needn't see you again, if he doesn't want to. You should not be offended if he wants to call it off, for he has helped you more than you have helped him. If your talk has been sane, quiet, and full of human understanding, you have perhaps made a friend. Maybe you have disturbed him about the question of alcoholism. This is all to the good. The more hopeless he feels, the better. He will be more likely to follow your suggestions. Your candidate may give reasons why he need not follow all of the program. He may rebel at the thought of a drastic house cleaning, which requires discussion with other people. Do not contradict such views. Tell him you once felt as he does, but you doubt whether you would have made much progress had you not taken action. On your first visit, tell him about the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. If he shows interest, lend him your copy of this book. Unless your friend wants to talk further about himself, do not wear out your welcome. Give him a chance to think it over. If you do stay, let him steer the conversation in any direction he likes. Sometimes a new man is anxious to proceed at once, and you may be tempted to let him do so. This is sometimes a mistake. If he has trouble later, he is likely to say you rushed him. You will be most successful with alcoholics if you do not exhibit any passion for crusade or reform. Never talk down to an alcoholic from any moral or spiritual hilltop. Simply lay out the kit of spiritual tools for his inspection. Show him how they worked with you. Offer him friendship and fellowship. Tell him that if he wants to get well, you will do anything to help. If he is not interested in your solution, if he expects you to act only as a banker for his financial difficulties or a nurse for his sprees, you may have to drop him until he changes his mind. This he may do after he gets hurt some more. If he is sincerely interested and wants to see you again, ask him to read this book in the interval, in between times. After doing that, he must decide for himself whether he wants to go on. He should not be pushed or prodded by you, his wife, or his friends. If he is to find God, the desire must come from within. If he thinks he can do the job in some other way or prefers some spiritual approach, encourage him to follow his own conscience. We have no monopoly on God. We merely have an approach that worked with us. But point out that we alcoholics have much in common and that you would like, in any case, to be friendly and let it go at that. Do not be discouraged if your prospect does not respond at once. Search out another alcoholic and try again. You are sure to find someone desperate enough to accept with eagerness what you offer. We find it a waste of time to keep chasing a man who cannot or will not work with you. If you leave such a person alone, he may soon become convinced that he cannot recover by himself. To spend too much time on any one situation is to deny some other alcoholic an opportunity to live and be happy. One of our fellowships failed entirely with the first half dozen prospects. He often says that if he had continued to work on them, he might have deprived many others who have since recovered of their chance. He would have deprived them of their chance. Suppose now you are making your second visit to a man. He has read this volume and says he's prepared to go through with the 12 steps of the program of recovery. Having had the experience yourself, you can give him much practical advice. Let him know you are available if he wishes to make a decision and tell his story, but do not insist upon it if he prefers to consult someone else. He may be broke and homeless. If he is, you might try to help him about getting a job or give him a little financial assistance, but you should not deprive your family or creditors of money they should have. Perhaps you will want to take the man into your home for a few days, but be sure you use discretion. Be certain he will be welcomed by your family and that he is not trying to impose upon you for money, connections, or shelter. Permit that and you only harm him. You will be making it possible for him to be insincere. You may be aiding in his destruction rather than his recovery. Never avoid these responsibilities, but be sure that you are doing the right thing if you assume them. Helping others is the foundation stone of your recovery. A kindly act once in a while isn't enough. You have to act a good Samaritan every day if need be. It may mean the loss of many nights' sleep, great interference with your pleasures, interruptions to your business. It may mean sharing your money and your home, counseling frantic wives and relatives, innumerable trips to police courts, sanitariums, hospitals, jails, and asylums. Your telephone may jangle at any time of the day or night. Your wife may sometimes say she's neglected. A drunk may smash the furniture in your home or burn a mattress. You may have to fight with him if he is violent. Sometimes you'll have to call a doctor and administer sedatives under his direction. Another time, you may have to send for the police or an ambulance. Occasionally, you will have to meet such conditions. And we'll stop there.
Okay, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. Back to 93, 3/4 of the way down the page. He may be an example of the truth that faith alone is insufficient. To be vital, faith must be accompanied by self-sacrifice and unselfish constructive action. That's like one of the most important lines in the big book, if you ask me. It's kind of saying everything that we need to know. And what does it actually say? What's it saying? That the faith alone, the idea of God, is insufficient. The idea of Creator, not enough. The concept is not enough. To be vital, to give you life, to really lift you up, it must be accompanied by self-sacrifice. Well, what is that? It means you have to understand the root of the problem. Selfishness, self-centeredness, self-seeking, self-pity, self-centered fear, self. As you understand that and you sacrifice that in the moment, step 10 is what we're talking about. Understanding self-sacrificing it in the moment will lift you up and get you closer to God.
There were many things that I wanted to do on a Thursday night in the last 6 months. Trust me, many things came up. But my pleasures aren't important. I committed to this. It's important.
And and to that note, also as you're living life, when you get the thought of judgment and you're judging somebody or you think something should be a certain way and you're imposing your will or whatever it is in the journey of life, you identify that selfishness and you sacrifice that. In that moment, as you bring God in, allow me, God, to not do that. Allow me to practice self-restraint. Allow me to talk to my God-centered 12-step pillar about that. Because as I project whatever it is on you, I need to look at myself, because you disturbing me isn't really the problem. Me judging you or me lusting over you or whatever it is, that's the problem. I need to look within me and find the solace within me to understand that all people are emotionally ill, spiritually sick, and frequently wrong, just like who? Just like me, man. And that's where these inventories really come in. You can really go back and look at the things that might be hard to shake and do step work on them. But the step 10 is where you learn to sacrifice, and following the process of step 10 is critical to this connection with God. That's where it brings the vitality into your life. It's vital, meaning important, but way more important than that is, you want to live, man. You want to live free of that shit.
What Bill is saying is, it's not just working with others unselfishly. It's building character all along the way so that you can be effective when you're unselfishly working with others. Vital. That's what vital means.
Altruistic, remember? We find our solution on the spiritual and altruistic plane. Ritual, following the rituals, which are the directions over and over and over. And the altruistic plane, unselfishly devoting oneself to the welfare, happiness, and well-being of others. And that means altruistically, unselfishly devoting yourself to the welfare, happiness, and well-being of others. That means in the moment too. Not just going to do something helpful. Sacrifice that selfish desire for whatever it is in that moment. Bring God in. And then follow the process of step 10. Discuss it with somebody immediately. Why? Because then you can uncover more of what it is, and it doesn't keep coming back and fucking up your life, whatever it is, right? And then you can uncover the fear behind it or whatever is there. That's where we self-sacrifice, and other ways as well. And then what happens? Then the unselfish constructive action just comes, because that's how we're designed. But that line's so important. It kind of encapsulates everything. Yeah. Flipping Next page. Again, just reiterating the same thing, outline the program of action, explaining how you made a self-appraisal, how you straightened out your past, and why you are now endeavoring to be helpful to him. Again, your story. What it was like, what happened, what it's like now. Boom. Sharpening your story, sharpening your message, explaining in a general way what happened, how you changed, what you used to be like. I used to be angry, I used to be resentful, I used to be like this, and because of that, I would drink. And then blah, blah, blah. I come into recovery, I'm finally broken, and then I do these things. And I had to look at myself. I had to do the amends. I had to work these steps. And then today, now part of my deal is I help other people understand the same thing that I was, right? So again, just another hammer home of the same thing we've been talking about all night. Middle of the page, make it clear that he is under no pressure, that he needn't see you again if he doesn't want to. That's critical. Never take it personally if somebody doesn't want to keep working with you. And never take it personally that if you got to get rid of your sponsor. Like, this is like, you can't take somebody firing you as a sponsor personally or them ghosting you. You have to learn how to be accepting of that and know that it's not you, man. And that's not to say don't look at yourself and see what you might have been able to do a little different or better. Constructive self-appraisal on getting better the next time. But we can't take things personally.
Have you ever heard the saying, sometimes it takes a village to raise a child? That's what I think of when people drop me. Okay, cool. Somebody else will help you better.
Yeah, and that's how we have to take these things. And it won't even really happen just because you read it and I'm telling you. Someone's going to say, I don't want to work with you, or they ghost you, and then step 10 is going to come into play. I'm going to feel less than. I'm going to feel like I didn't give them something. Where am I selfish, dishonest, inconsiderate, or afraid? Boom, boom. Ask God. Talk to somebody immediately, make amends quickly, resolutely, turn your thoughts. Boom, that's where the step 10 process comes in again. So you're sacrificing your own selfishness and self-pity in that moment, and you're letting it go. You're discussing it with somebody. He's going to reassure you that it's not really you, and whatever it is about you in that process, you're going to be revealed through the talk with the God-centered 12-step person that you're discussing it with. So the processes are so important for the self-sacrifice. Down a little further. Maybe you have disturbed him. This is also one of the most important lines in the big book as a sharer in the meetings or as a sponsor. Make sure, maybe you have disturbed him on the question of alcoholism. This is all to the good. The more hopeless he feels, the better. He will be more likely to follow your suggestions. What is alcoholism, somebody? Right? It's a manifestation of behaviors, malady of the mind. So we disturb them on the question of alcoholism. Ism. I-S-M, I, self, me. So you're disturbing them in the sharing on the question of their own behaviors and what they're doing. And as you talk more about alcoholism, the defective character, which is what isms are, you disturb them, talking about anger, talking about resentment, talking about fears, talking about things that everybody has, but they don't want to look at. And we had a good example tonight where I met a guy, blah, 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 he's here, and he said Lee disturbed him. So he came here and then asked Lee to bring him here, right? And that's an exact example of somebody that was disturbed on the question of alcoholism. And that's all to the good. Why? They stand a better chance and they're more likely to follow our suggestions. You're going to piss him off, and he's not going to want to talk to you. But eventually, if you're consistent with the message and you build the character and he sees it, he's going to want that shit, right? So I think disturbing them on the question of alcoholism with the substance and like with what we talk about with the allergy and the inability to leave alone the first one, but more so on the defective character that drives all of these inability to leave it alone. The character aspects or the lack of it.
That's what
Defective
disturbed
character.
me. is when I recognized myself in other people, and it didn't sound so good coming out of their mouth.
And eventually, if the person's not going to work on whatever it is that disturbed them, it's going to crush them. They're going to be crushed by their own self-imposed crisis, whether it be lust or anger, judgment, self-pity. It eventually crushes you, and then you'll be forced to look at it. But if you resist it and keep resisting, it never goes away. And it's a disturbance within you, and it doesn't go away until it's addressed, right? So that allows us to peel it open with the help of other people. Okay, next page, 95, middle of the page. This is so fucking key. You offer him friendship and fellowship. Tell him that if he wants to get well, you'll do anything to help. It doesn't say you're his friend. Okay? Somebody asked me to sponsor them, doesn't mean I'm their friend. It says I offer them the same attributes as friendship and fellowship. And I will do anything to help. If he's not interested in my solution, if he just fucks around and does whatever he wants, if he expects me to act only as a banker or co-sign his shit, listen to his problems all day long for his financial difficulties, or a nurse for his defective character sprees, just listening to him be on these sprees of defective character and then bitch about it, or, you know, say how great he is about whatever it is, I might have to drop him until he changes his mind. This may he do after he gets hurt some more, because this shit will crush him and he's going to get hurt. But I'm not there to like wait for a guy on step 8 that sits on step 8 for 8 months and still is acting out as his defects of character. I might have to let him go, because that's not what I'm about, and that's not what this is really about. So I let them go typically, or they'll let me go. They just won't call, and they'll do whatever they're going to do, and I just let them do whatever they're going to do. And like in here, you'll see we don't chase them either. But maybe at first, when you're first sponsoring, you got to do a little more chasing, because you're trying to cut your teeth. So you're going to have to chase a little bit more as a new sponsor than like as you get better, you don't chase as much, because you're building your system. You're learning how to do this better. Amberly and I talked outside about it, and you know, she's learning the system and how to, you know, punch and how to pull back and just do everything with effectiveness, right?
And one thing that I'd like to add is I've built my system, and I've recognized that I'm able to pass this down to other guys that I sponsor. And I found, you know, a lot of times, like one of the most common things is, when are you picking me up for a meeting tonight? Right out of the gate, right? Now, if I offer, maybe I'll meet, you know, pick guys up at meetings. Like, I'm not saying I never do that, because I'm not a terrible human. I'm kind, but it's certainly not something that I want people to expect of me. And, you know, I have found that it's much more effective, and I learned this through business, to set expectations at the beginning. The very first time a guy asks me to sponsor him, I ask him, what does a sponsor mean to you? And if they say, well, got to take me to meetings and, you know, and buy me a coffee once in a while and we can chat and, you know, and then I go, well, no, that's not what I believe a sponsor is. A sponsor to me, and I set this expectation, is simply a guy that will be there for you and take you through the book, through a set of steps, and hopefully you find a relationship with God. Period. That is my role. Now, of course, there's a lot more levels of that, but I find that being very straight and black and white with a guy up front, all of a sudden, like Bill just said, some guys just quit calling because they just want a guy to drive them around to meetings, right? I'm not that guy. I don't have the time for it. I just don't have the time for it. If you want to sit down once a week and go through the book, and I'll take you through a set of steps, right on, let's do this. I'll make the time for you. But a lot of that fell away when I started setting the expectations at the very beginning of the relationship.
Yeah, and that vetting and building your system, and that's kind of what it reveals, right?
Yep.
Anyway, let's go to 96 quickly, top of the page. We find it a waste of time to keep chasing a man who cannot or will not work with you, period. You leave such a person alone, he may soon become convinced that he can't recover by himself, which he can't. To spend too much time on one situation is to deny some other alcoholic an opportunity to live and be happy. Normal people who aren't us may not agree with this. That doesn't matter. The alcoholic himself may, they don't actually want to help you. Every time I ask for help, they're never really there. They only say that they're there, but they're not really there. They don't get it. That's fine. Follow the directions in the book. Use your intuition, but don't carry the alcoholic. Right? You carry the message, not the alcoholic. That's why I said at the beginning of this portion of the study, how many times I've had to tell somebody, have you read the chapter Working with Others? You're sober many years now, read the chapter again and again and again. Because it tells you these things that I don't need to tell you, man, right? But maybe you're trying to help them for whatever reason. And I'm not saying you shouldn't like go to over and above sometimes. Like you got to use your own intuition on some of this stuff, right? 97 across, we're going to quickly cruise. Never avoid these responsibilities. Be sure you are doing the right thing if you assume them. This is key. Helping others is the foundation stone of your recovery. Foundation stone. A kindly act once in a while isn't enough. You have to act a good Samaritan every day if need be. It may mean the loss of many nights' sleep. Trust me, that's true. Great interference with your pleasures. Trust me, that's true. Interruptions to your business. Trust me, that's true. It may mean sharing your money. No. Your home. No. Counseling frantic wives. No, not really. Relatives, innumerable trips to police court, sanitariums, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to go through it all. That was written in 1935. We can find alcoholics easily now at meetings. Like you don't need to go through all that and like build your system. And like I'm not letting too many guys stay at my house. I'm not lending too many guys a lot of money. And if I ever do, I just give it away because there's no point in like lending it to them. I might get it back, but I'd rather just give them the money and just say that's a gift. Have at her, right? But I guess what I want to highlight is a kindly act once in a while isn't enough. You got to act a good Samaritan every day if need be, and helping others is the foundation stone of your recovery. It's like the rock that you build from everything. Anything, Gordon?
I do want to touch on just one little thing there that your wife may sometimes say she is neglected. So remember that we are building, Everly's laughing, I love that. My wife is not in recovery, okay? She doesn't need to be. So there are these scenarios where and even if she was, there's scenarios where I spend a lot of time sponsoring guys and doing this big book study every Thursday for 6 months and, and so forth and so forth. So sometimes that happens. That's a reality. If I continue to enlarge on my spiritual growth, I am able to be in tune for what parts of my lives need some attention, need some work, right? And when my wife gets a little lonely or needs me around a little bit more, I try and be aware of that, and I try to be of better character and give that to her where I can. Now, I can't do it Thursday night, sweetheart, but guess what? I have a date night with her every Wednesday. And we spend the weekends with her. I don't sponsor. Oh, I know. And she would say the same thing. I'm telling you, like, we've got a love that you'd never understand. It's beautiful. And that's because it meant that much to both of us. So we work at it. Jobs, same thing. Everything in our lives takes work. And the more we enlarge on our spiritual growth, the more we have that intuition, the more we become aware of our surroundings and the other aspects of our lives, and we get to see what needs our attention. That's important too.
Hi. Okay. I'm pretty much done.
Okay.
Home stretch, Lee.
Home stretch, Lee. We're on the home stretch.
We're bugging Lee because he didn't think we could do this.
Okay, grab your seats because we're going through 4.5 pages right now. We seldom allow an alcoholic to live in our homes for long at a time. I never do. It is not good for him, and it sometimes creates serious complications in a family. Though an alcoholic does not respond, there is no reason why you should neglect his family. You should continue to be friendly to them. I'm not really a big fan of that. The family should be offered your way of life. Should they accept and practice spiritual principles, there's a much better chance that the head of the family will recover. And even though he continues to drink, the family will find life more bearable. For the type of alcoholic who is able and willing to get well, little charity in the ordinary sense of the word is needed or wanted. The men who cry for money and shelter before conquering alcohol are on the wrong track. Yet we do go to great extremes to provide each other with these very things when such action is warranted. This may seem inconsistent, but we think it is not. It is not the matter of giving that is in question, but when and how to give. That often makes the difference between failure and success. The minute we put our work on the service plane, the alcoholic commences to rely upon our assistance rather than upon God. He clamors for this or for that, claiming he cannot master alcohol until his material needs are cared for. Nonsense. Some of us have taken very hard knocks to learn this truth. Job or no job, wife or no wife, we simply do not stop drinking so long as we place dependence upon other people ahead of our dependence on God. Burn the idea into the consciousness of every man that he can get well regardless of anyone. The only condition is that he trust in God and clean house. Now the domestic problem. There may be divorce, separation, or just strained relations. When your prospect has made much reparation as he can do to his family and has thoroughly explained to them the new principles by which he is living, he should proceed to put those principles into action at home. That is, if he is lucky enough to have a home. Though his family be at fault in many respects, he should not be concerned about that. He should concentrate on his own spiritual demonstration. Argument and fault finding are to be avoided like the plague. In many homes, this is a difficult thing to do, but it must be done if any results are to be expected, rightly? If persisted in for a few moments, the effect on a man's family is sure to be great. The most incompatible people discover they have a basis upon which they can meet. Little by little, the family may see their own defects and admit them. These can be discussed in an atmosphere of helpfulness and friendliness. After they have seen tangible results, the family will perhaps want to go along. These things will come to pass naturally and in a good time provided. However, the alcoholic continues to demonstrate that he can be sober, considerate, and helpful regardless of what anyone says or does. Of course, we all fall much below this standard many times, but we must try to repair the damage immediately lest we pay the penalty by a spree. If there be divorce or separation, there should be no undue haste for the couple to get together. The man should be sure of his recovery. The wife should fully understand his new way of life. If their old relationship is to be resumed, it must be on a better basis, since the former did not work. This means a new attitude and spirit all around. Sometimes it is to the best interest of all concerned that a couple remain apart. Obviously, no rule can be laid down. Let the alcoholic continue his program day by day. When the time for living together has come, it will be apparent to both parties. Let no alcoholic say he cannot recover unless he has his family back. This just isn't so. In some cases, the wife will never come back for one reason or another. Remind the prospect that his recovery is not dependent upon people. It is dependent upon his relationship with God. We have seen men get well whose families have not returned at all. We have seen others slip when the family came back too soon. Both you and the new man must walk day by day in the path of spiritual progress. If you persist, remarkable things will happen. When we look back, we realize that the things which came to us when we put ourselves in God's hands were better than anything we could have planned. Follow the dictates of a higher power, and you will presently live in a new and wonderful world, no matter what your present circumstances. When working with a man and his family, You should take care not to participate in their quarrels. You may spoil your chance of being helpful if you do. But urge upon a man's family that he has been a very sick person and should be treated accordingly. You should warn against arousing resentment or jealousy. You should point out that his defects of character are not going to disappear overnight. Show them that he has entered upon a period of growth. Ask them to remember, when they are impatient, the blessed fact of his sobriety. If you have been successful in solving your own domestic problems, tell the newcomer's family how that was accomplished. Right, Lee? In this way, you can set them on the right track without becoming critical of them. The story of how you and your wife settled their difficulties is worth any amount of criticism. Assuming we are spiritually fit, we can do all sorts of things that alcoholics are not supposed to do. People have said we must not go where liquor is served. We must not have it in our homes. We must shun friends who drink. We must avoid moving pictures, movies, which show drinking scenes. We must not go into bars. Our friends must hide their bottles if we go to their houses. We mustn't think or be reminded about alcohol at all. Our experience shows that that is not necessarily so. We meet these conditions every day. An alcoholic who cannot meet them still has an alcoholic mind. There is something the matter with his spiritual status. His only chance for sobriety would be someplace like the Greenland ice cap, and even there an Eskimo might turn up with a bottle of scotch and ruin everything. Ask any woman who has sent her husband to distant places on the theory he would escape the alcohol problem. In our belief, any scheme of combating alcoholism which proposes to shield the sick man from temptation is doomed to failure. If the alcoholic tries to shield himself, he may succeed for a time, but he usually winds up with a bigger explosion than ever. We have tried these methods. These attempts to do the impossible have always failed. So our rule is not to avoid a place where there is drinking if we have a legitimate reason for being there. That includes bars, nightclubs, dances, receptions, weddings, even plain ordinary whoopee parties. Whoopee! I always get a big laugh on that one. To a person who has had experience with an alcoholic, this may seem like tempting providence, but it isn't. You will note that we made an important qualification. Therefore, ask yourself on each occasion, have I any good social, business, or personal reason for going to this place? Or am I expecting to steal a little vicarious pleasure from the atmosphere of such places? If you answer these questions satisfactorily, you need have no apprehension. Go or stay away, whichever seems best. But be sure you are on solid spiritual ground before you start, and that your motive in going is thoroughly good. Do not think of what you will get out of the occasion. Think of what you can bring to it. But if you are shaky, you had better work with another alcoholic instead. Why sit with a long face in places where there is drinking, sighing about the good old days? If it is a happy occasion, try to increase the pleasure of those there. If a business occasion, go and attend to your business enthusiastically. If you are with a person who wants to eat in a bar, by all means, go along. Let your friends know that they are not to change their habits on your account. At a proper time and place, explain all your friends why alcohol disagrees with you. If you do this thoroughly, few people will ask you to drink. While you were drinking, you were withdrawing from life little by little. Now you are getting back into the social life of this world. Don't start to withdraw again just because your friends drink liquor. Your job now is to be at the place where you may be of maximum helpfulness to others. So never hesitate to go anywhere if you can be helpful. You should not hesitate to visit the most sordid spot on earth on such an errand. Keep on the firing line of life with these motives, and God will keep you unharmed. Many of us keep liquor in our homes. We often need it to carry green recruits through a severe hangover. Some of us still serve it to our friends, provided they're not alcoholic. But some of us think we should not serve liquor to anyone. We never argue this question. We feel that each family, in the light of their own circumstances, ought to decide for themselves. We are careful never to show intolerance or hatred of drinking as an institution. Experience shows that such an attitude is not helpful to anyone. Every new alcoholic looks for this spirit among us and is immensely relieved when he finds we are not witch burners. A spirit of intolerance, witch burners, a spirit of intolerance might repel alcoholics whose lives could have been saved had it not been for such stupidity. We would not even do the cause of temperate drinking any good, for not one drinker in 1,000 likes to be told anything about alcohol by one who hates it. Someday we hope that Alcoholics Anonymous will help the public to a better realization of the gravity of the alcoholic problem, but we shall be of little use if our attitude is one of bitterness or hostility. Drinkers will not stand for it. After all, our problems were of our own making. Bottles were only a symbol. Besides, we have stopped fighting anybody or anything. We have to.
Okay. I'm going to start on page 98. Top of the page-ish. Little charity in the ordinary sense of the word is needed or wanted. So an alcoholic that really, really wants this, they don't really need charity, okay? The men who cry for money or shelter before conquering alcohol are on the wrong track. Those are the guys that are making the plan. Yet we do go to great extremes to provide each other with these very things when such action is warranted. This may seem inconsistent, but we think it is not. It is not this is really, really important. Okay, fresh start. Good to see you guys. We'll see you again soon. Love you, Donnie. Thanks, Johnny boy.
Nice to meet you, Donnie.
It is not the matter of giving that's the question. So remember, as you're working with these guys, it's not a matter of giving that's the question, but it's when and how to give that often makes the difference between failure and success. So it's not a matter of giving, it's when and how. And as you do your own work in recovery, you'll get your intuitive, and you use pillars, you'll get the decisions and the answers on how and where and how to do this the best that you can. The minute we put our work on the service plane, you as the person who's the solution, who's helping them, the alcoholic commences to rely upon your assistance rather than upon God. He clamors for this and that, claiming he cannot master alcohol until his material needs are cared for. Nonsense, period. Some of us have taken some very hard knocks to learn this truth. Job or no job, wife or no wife, we simply do not stop drinking so long as we place dependence upon other people ahead of dependence upon God. Those are like super powerful lines that really need to be heeded, okay? Check those out and underline, circle, whatever, all of that stuff. This whole page almost, at least the first 2/3. Burn the idea in the consciousness of every man that he can get well regardless of anyone. The only condition that he trusts God and clean house. So you can't really trust God until you clean house, because the house is blocked, man. So God's blocked off, so you got to clean the house. I wish I could talk a little more on that. Next, page 100. Second paragraph from the top, both you and the new man must walk day by day in the path of spiritual progress. If you persist, remarkable things will happen. And you notice how he wrote that? If you persist, meaning you're going to try to be dissuaded from doing this. But if you persist, remarkable things will happen. When we look back, we realize the things that came to us when we put ourselves in God's hands in all areas of your life, because that's what this does. It connects you more to God if you are persistent in this. Anyway, next sentence. Follow the dictates of a higher power. And you can only do that through the intuition. And you will presently live in a new and wonderful world no matter what your present circumstances. Doesn't matter what life has in front of you, you will live a really solid, beautiful, good life. And it won't really matter what your circumstances are. And your circumstances won't dictate your life anyway, because Creator will.
You all heard my story about being out of work for my first 3 years in recovery, right? And how awful that was. And how I used to whine and bitch and moan with Bill and Jesse down at Weatherskin, yeah. And finally it dawned on me that I had put my success in my own hands. And I tried to force my own will to become successful again. And I realized it in the moment that I had put work and money ahead of God. And I looked at all the other aspects of my life, and everything was getting better in those 3 years, except that one thing. And so I gave to it. And all I wanted to do was just get back into my industry and be a project manager again. That's all I wanted. In my mind, that's what I could see. And let me tell you something. Today, I'm a partner. They've gifted me a partnership in a national restoration company that was never on my radar. So you see, God's plans and hands are better than anything I could have planned. I've experienced that personally. It's unbelievable if you let God, Creator, higher power, whatever it is you do, if you let that in and you let that run the show, you will be shocked. I promise you. We gotta keep going. We gotta keep going.
Okay, other page 101. We meet these conditions every day, life conditions, you know. An alcoholic who cannot meet them still has an alcoholic mind. You don't need to avoid anything as an alcoholic. You can live exactly the same life as any normal person. And if you can't, you'll see something's wrong with your spiritual conditioning. So we meet these conditions every day. An alcoholic who cannot meet them still has an alcoholic mind. There is something the matter with his spiritual status. And then I'm not going to read that. I'm going to skip to the next paragraph. In our belief, any scheme of combating alcoholism or drug addiction which proposes to shield the sick man from temptation is doomed to failure. If the alcoholic tries to shield himself, he may succeed for a time, but he usually winds up in a bigger explosion than ever. We have tried these methods. These attempts to do the impossible have always failed. So, really, you can live exactly the most beautiful life that you want. You do not have to stop going anywhere. And if you need to resist, something's wrong with your spiritual status. Like after this study tonight, we're inviting anyone who wants to come to Side Street.
Sure.
We're going to go to Side Street Pub. I'm not worried about drinking, Matt. I'm not worried about the crackheads out back smoking crack that I'm going to go smoke crack with them. Why? Because I've perfected and enlarged my spiritual life. I don't want that shit. I don't need it. And I'm not going to hang out there all night and wish I was fucking able to drink like that guy down at the end of the bar. When I'm done our business, we're gone.
And our business is to celebrate a half a year of doing this with people like you. That's a beautiful thing, man, you know?
So yeah, you don't have to change much, but maybe in the first year or so, you got to kind of be diligent, like it said here. Like, you know, if you're shaky, you better go work with another alcoholic. Don't just make your decisions on what you should do when you're new. Ask people where you should go, what you should do. What do you think? I'm going to the wedding. There's going to be like ask the questions to the people. And if you're not asking them, there's probably a reason why. Right? What are you hiding?
And for the couple people that might be here that haven't gone through a set of steps yet, remember, we are in the chapter of helping others. This is step 12. Doesn't talk to us about this until we've done the steps.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't recommend you go hang out in a bar if you haven't done a set of steps.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
Brother, that's pretty gold. I mean,
Okay.